feel what happened at that moment. 2 million tons of water, sand, and powdered coral exploded into the air. The explosion literally shredded the ocean bottom. Scientists who examined it 73 years later found that it had never leveled out. The target ships and the atoll as a whole were heavily contaminated with radioactive material. But at the time, few people realized how severe the contamination would be. Years later, the level of radiation from the impact has significantly decreased. But the problem of contamination from the sunken ships remains. It was just that during the tests, the ships had to be left in full combat readiness. That is, they still had fuel and ammunition. As a result, fuel continues to leak from the Japanese Navy's flagship Nagato, spreading for miles. The third Bikini test, codenamed Castle Bravo, took place in 1954. A hydrogen bomb was detonated over the atoll. The explosion was 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Up to 100 Japanese schooners were exposed to radiation, and 457 tons of tuna were spoiled. 192 kilometers, 119 miles from Bikini, radiation levels reached 1,000 row engines per hour, while 600 row engines is already lethal to humans. Overall, it was the most powerful of the nuclear tests in U.S. history. They continued for another 4 years, until 1958. As a result, Bikini became uninhabitable. The soil and water became contaminated, so that farming and fishing were no longer possible. More than half of the 167 indigenous people of Bikini Atoll died due to severe radiation-related diseases. The U.S. later paid the descendants of the Bikini Atoll's inhabitants $83 million in compensation for damages from nuclear tests and relocation from their home island. There are now 4 to 6 caregivers living on the atoll. Now, let's move to another island you'd better also avoid, but for a completely different reason.